Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to the September 23rd, 2019 Plains to Peaks Learning Opportunity, and happy fall. Thanks, Mandy, for pointing out that you like this picture. I actually Google imaged North Dakota fall images, and this was on, I think, your tourism site. So I figured since we're having a presenter from North Dakota, I would find a picture. So hopefully it actually is North Dakota. I just Google imaged it. It is also my favorite season. And to that end, I thought we could do a round of introductions, and if you could share who you are and what your name is. Sorry, what your name is and what your role is in your organization, and then what your favorite fall activity is. I thought that would be a nice way to get us started. And then we have, I guess, presenter, and we'll introduce her as well. So I will go down, sometimes easier if I go down the list of participants that I have here. I'll start, I'm Colleen Capsamalis Doyle with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I facilitate the Plains to Peaks Regional Network and help out with projects related to our core state violence and injury prevention program and others related to leading some of our evaluation efforts. So just going down the list, Kate Jankowski, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kate Jankowski. I'm at the Colorado State Health Department. I manage the Child Fatality Prevention System, which is our child death review process here in Colorado. And my favorite fall activity is making chili in a crock pot and then eating several bowls of it, which I'm looking forward to.
I totally forgot to answer the icebreaker question. Mine is apple picking, although I don't do it as much in Colorado as I did in New England when I lived there. And I did make chili this weekend. I made a pumpkin turkey chili that turned out pretty good. So if anybody wants a recipe, let me know. It's really easy. So next, Christine DeMont.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, we could and now we can't.
How's that?
That's better.
Christine DeMont, also with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I'm an injury epidemiologist and help with data analysis for core SFIP. My favorite fall activity was taking my kids trick-or-treating, but now they're both officially teenagers and they say they're too old for it. So I'm gonna have to find a new favorite fall activity.
Thanks. Next, Donnelly, you can go ahead and introduce yourself and then we'll do a longer introduction before your presentation, but it's your next on the list.
Hi, I'm Danelle Presky-Hushka, and I work at the North Dakota Association of Counties presenting today. Thanks for having me.
Sorry, I was pronouncing your name wrong. Next, Felice.
Hello, I'm Felice Senior, and I'm also with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I'm a violence and injury prevention evaluator, and I guess my favorite fall activity is carving pumpkins, and yeah, I'm drinking spiced apple cider.
Yeah, nice, thanks. Next, I have Jamin.
Hi, I'm Jamin Johnson. I'm with the Wyoming Department of Health. I am a program manager in the Maternal and Child Health Unit. And my favorite part of fall is my two sons have taken a fast interest to football, so I have enjoyed having some friends to watch football with.
Nice. Next, let's see, Kate Cohen.
Hi, I work for the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and I work in communications and policy with our violence and injury prevention branch. And I think one of my favorite fall activities is going into the mountains and hiking. It reminds me of Vermont because that's where kind of the bulk of the leaves turn in Colorado.
Thanks. And then Mandy.
Hi everyone, Mandy Slegg, Injury Prevention Program Director for the North Dakota Department of Health. I do all unintentional injury, mine is child passenger safety and safe sleep, and my favorite fall activities are carving pumpkins and raking leaves.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody raking leaves as one. Thanks for sharing. Next, motor vehicle safety, which may be Ashley or Jenna perhaps. It looks like
maybe me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Jenna Jones with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and I'm the Motor Vehicle Safety Manager. My favorite fall activity, I think I'll echo Kate, is going and stomping around in the leaves and then sitting by the fire and reading, preferably in a mountain cabin somewhere.
Thanks. And then, let's see who else. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
They're doing some sort of sawing outside my office.
That's what I thought that was when you
It's
logged in.
very loud. I'm doing my headset. This is Sarah Brandspiegel. I am with the Colorado School of Public Health. And we have a family tradition in the fall where we go and we ride an old historic train in northern New Mexico and look at the aspens turning. And
cool.
We always look forward to that every year, and it's coming up this weekend. So that's definitely my favorite.
Fun. And then Ashley?
Hi, I'm Ashley Nix. I'm with CDPHE. I work as the Motor Vehicle Program Coordinator, and my favorite fall activity is probably anything to do with Halloween. Getting ready for Halloween is awesome, and decorating for Halloween and eating candy, all of that is my favorite.
Next, Barbara?
Hi, everyone. This is Barbara. I think my favorite activity is being outside in the fall.
Yeah, thanks. And then Peg, I think you're the last on the list here. And I'm not sure if Peg, can you hear us? Not sure if she's on audio. I don't see the little indicator next to. Oh. Peg? Hey.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, we can hear you now. Do you want to introduce yourself, your role, and your favorite fall activity?
Sure. My name is Peg O.G. Ginsburg. I'm the Interprevention Program Manager in Nebraska. My favorite fall activity, I think, is watching Nebraska volleyball.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for introducing yourselves and doing the little icebreaker. That was fun. Before we dive into the content for today's presentation, I hopefully got everybody, but let me know if I didn't get anyone on the list. I just wanted to say congrats to our rising stars from our region. A couple weeks ago was the Safe States Alliance annual conference and meeting, and it was really great to see a lot of you in person during our little informal get together. That was a lot of fun. But I just wanted to point out that there were 3 awards for Rising Stars handed out, and this is given to those who have been working in the field of injury and violence prevention for 5 years or less, and all 3 Rising Stars are from our region. So Sydney Conroy from Iowa, Deanna Farrell from Utah, and Celeste Williams from Nebraska. So none of those people are on the call today, but I did just want to point out how awesome and proud we should be to have such Rising Stars in our region. So next we will, I'm really sorry, I have a typo in this. I have the name spelled wrong. I thought I picked that. But next we'll have our media and communications training. And Mandy, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker, and I will stop sharing my screen now, but also that you can share yours.
Okay, thanks, Colleen. So today it's my pleasure to introduce Danelle Presky-Hushka. She is a government and public relations specialist for the North Dakota Association of Counties. Danelle is a registered lobbyist. Besides writing and delivering testimony, Danelle focuses on legislative strategy and developing items to assist in advocating on legislative priorities. Danelle plays an active role in the North Dakota Association of Counties media relations, manages the association's social media platforms, including a legislative blog, and writing for their bi-monthly publication. Prior to her role at the North Dakota Association of Counties, Danelle spent 17 years in broadcast news and was recognized with numerous awards at the state and regional level for journalism excellence. Please help me welcome Danelle Presky-Hushka.
And Danelle, hopefully you can share your screen now.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, yes. I'm new to Zoom, everyone, so bear with me. Okay.
We see it. It looks good.
You see it. Okay.
Yes.
And then I should be, last time I tried, when we practiced this, I had my notes on one side. Shoot, did I do something wrong? Okay, sorry. I'll see if I can
Okay,
do
it gets
this.
a little funny
Share.
with dual screens. I always have trouble with that too.
Okay, so you see it now?
We see your notes.
You see my notes, okay.
Gosh, I always remember, Sarah, I might be calling you. Do you remember how you switched the, oh, I guess actually when you share the screen, you may want to make sure you select sharing the like the actual presentation and not the notes. So there's usually a couple options.
Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. Okay, so I have select a window or application you want to share. So I think I want to share screen 2.
Yeah, so try it. Hopefully that'll.
Okay, and then maybe I'll go into presenter mode from here. Okay, now what do you see?
You see the presentation.
Okay, great, and I see my notes. So
Awesome.
hopefully I did that well.
Okay.
So I always struggle, even though you know, I spent a career in broadcast journalism, I still struggle with titles. And I was going through the different presentation modes for PowerPoint, and I came across this one, and then connectivity came to my mind, and so I really think that this is a good way to summarize what we're going to talk about here today, is how to connect with the public using the media. And throughout this this presentation, you're going to hear about all those different things that are pictured on the screen. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I'm just gonna moving my little screenshot here of your guys' pretty faces. I'm very passionate about this topic, and it moves me to see how many people want to learn how to improve their relationships or learn how to work with the media. It's something that I think as a, when I was in my reporter role, I didn't realize that there were people out there who wanted to take training to learn how to be better at forming relationships with the media. So of course today we're going to talk about the importance of those relationships and how you work with them and how you form those relationships. But I really want to stress throughout this presentation that with today's technology, you have control over your message, and you have more assets available to you today to get your message to the public than ever before. Did a good job about summarizing my past. One thing that, I mean, 17 years in broadcast journalism and then 5 years now in government affairs and public relations. Really, a lot of my job doesn't deal with the media now. I do a few things that touch with them, but I'm still very in the know over over what's going on in our world, what is news, how you get out the news, and definitely am brought into many discussions on how to deal with the media, or how do I write this press release, or how do I get this information out there from many of my other association colleagues. During my time here at the Association of Counties, I did have experience as a PIO, where one of our counties who didn't have one tapped me to come in and lead their, I guess, public relations during a major national crisis that came upon them pretty suddenly. And so it was interesting to get that experience as well in dealing with the media. This chart really shows how you can utilize both the traditional media and also social media to deliver your message to get to the public. And that's really your main goal, is to get your message to the public. You know, you can share your information with the media, you can share it on social media, and really in both cases, it will reach the public. I'm going to stress, hopefully throughout this, that your message, using social media, you can get your message delivered faster and even more accurately using social media, because again, you have control over that message. So why is media relations important? Well, it's important because you need the media to reach your audience. They are the best way to share the good, important, urgent, especially, information that is going on that affects your entity. A lot of people will ask, well, why should I be open to the media? Some people are scared of the media, or the media doesn't see the world the way they see it. Again, because they have the access to reach your audience, the public. Oftentimes they have the credibility of being an impartial second person. So instead of the public hearing it directly from you, you go to them and they hear it from them. And well, what the media is reporting must be the truth, right? So they have a credibility of being that impartial person. And then also, it's important to be open to the media and to form those relationships, because when you do need them, it's better to be associated with them, be friends with them professionally, rather than to be strangers or enemies. So who are the media? It's really hard to tell these days. Of course, you have your traditional media, like your newspaper reporters, your TV reporters, those that are on the radio. But you also have those non-traditional media people, bloggers, and writers that are contracted. And I would say that one of my tips that I picked up from the PIO and for the crisis that I was involved in was to have a policy to ask for credentials from reporters if you don't know who they are associated with, or if you're not familiar with them. To have some sort of process in asking for credentials and having them back up who they are reporting for. So get to know your local media. Know what the major outlets are, what your mainstream media is, and who are those reporters that cover. It sounds like most of you are all in dealing with health in some way or another. So who are those health reporters, or who are those government reporters that you might be dealing with? Establish a media contact list. You want to do this before you need it, because if there is an emergency or crisis at hand that you need to get the word out about something immediately, you don't want to try to be developing that media list. So start developing it now and keep it updated. And I would also say that the media world, it's always changing. I'm sure you've seen that too from watching the news or reading the newspaper. The names always change of who's on. So make sure that you know who's current and have a current list. I like to have a list of a general email address for that department, but then also have some specific addresses for reporters and assignment editors. But to have a general one kind of covers you in case that person is sick or a person is has quit their job and moved on. Also, to find out who are the media, like and follow your local media on social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, and most likely they will like you back. And when I say to follow them, I mean your organization, to follow them as your organization. So what is news? Some things to kind of ask yourself. Is this information new? Is the information important, timely, relevant? Is the information factual? Is it a statewide or local story that has a significant impact? Do we have a call to action or an ask for the public? Is this information best suited for newspaper, TV, radio, website, social media? That's a question to ask yourself, and then maybe even gear that tip or whatever towards that entity. And then also when you're going through this list of what is news, think in your mind too, or identify who is the best person in your organization to best deliver or communicate that information. It's also important to know, to understand the media and what do they want? What are they looking for in a story? Years ago, it was if it bleeds, it leads. And now the news has gotten more consumer based. So what does the audience want? And that's really what the media is basing their decisions every day on. What should we be covering? You know, their main role is to inform, but they also have sections of their news, I'm sure you've seen, that entertain. The stories about the dogs and doing funny things or unusual things. I mean, those are to entertain. It's really not informative. Or the kids at the lemonade stands. So things that make people smile at home or feel happy. And then they also have a public service role. Of course, they're also looking for that breaking news or new information. They're looking for timely stories, stories of local state interest. And a lot of times they're also looking for those local tie-ins to national stories. And that's something I really want to put in your brains as well, is that when you hear a national story, think about, is there a way to tie this locally, or is your situation different, or do you have a local tie-in to what they're talking about nationally? And don't be afraid to tip that off to reporters as well. They're also looking for anything interesting, unique, the human interest stories, or call to actions. And what you can do to get more for your story or more exposure for your story. These are really some 2 tips that can really help expand the coverage that you can get by personalizing the story. Line up somebody who can share their personal experience before you even make the phone call to tip a reporter off on a story idea that you might have, or to line up a press conference. Think about, how could this be, how can you find the human aspect of this? How can you find a way for the reporter to personalize this story, to share their story, but then also to provide the opportunity for that reporter to get pictures and or video, because that's always going to be their question is, well, what do we, what would we use to cover this story? What kind of video would we use to cover this story? And so if you can arrange for that kind of opportunity at the same time as an interview, it just makes their life a lot easier, and you're more than likely going to get more exposure because of it. Some best practices. Number 1, really understand their deadlines. The traditional news cycle, many news stations will have TV, we'll have morning shows, noon shows. They'll have news at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 10 p.m. I'm Central Time, so that's our news cycle. Newspapers, their deadline is pretty much at the end of the working day, and they go to print, at maybe 9 o'clock at night. So understanding those deadlines and being respectful of them when you issue your press release or when you make your phone call about a tip is important. Being responsive as a PIO or a media contact, you really need to answer or return phone calls and emails. And you need to do it on a very timely manner because of the deadlines that those reporters are working under. If you aren't responsive, either you're missing the opportunity to make a correction in the story or information, or to get your information out, And again, if you don't answer it, then they're going to move on, and they're going to either they could misreport your information, or your information wouldn't be included. Answer their questions, and if you can't answer their questions, find somebody who can answer their question. And then always remember that nothing is off the record. How to release your news. So you have news, you've identified that it's news. What do you do with it? So one of the easiest ways is to pitch an idea to a reporter if you have a relationship with them. Just pick up the phone and visit with them, email them. The one pitfall with this is that it's just going to that one reporter. So you are missing out on getting more coverage by other stations. Basically, the viewers of that station or the readers of that paper are only going to see it, versus if you do a news release, it goes to all the media who want to consume the information. The news release, again, you would send it to all the media in your area, and they basically can choose to reword it, call you for an interview for more information, get an interview, do a full-blown story on it. And in some cases, they might not do anything with it. And we'll talk about that further on. Hold a news conference, invite the media and the public. And then also just maybe it's a news item that you don't think the media is interested in, but it's news to your people in your area. So releasing it via social media and the website. And then there again, media who are following you might share it directly from your website or call to follow up on it. The important thing with social media is that you can be your own medium by creating news content and delivering it on social media. Traditionally, news media was the only way to reach the public, but they're no longer the only tool. So I'm just going to move into a few of these things that we just talked about. For the news release, I just cannot stress enough that the contact person on your news release needs to be the person who's going to take the media phone calls or emails. They're the person who will arrange or conduct the interview. And most importantly, they must be available. When you push this out, that person needs to be available. And if they're not, then either find somebody else who can be the contact person or hold off from pushing it out. The subject matter that you might be using as your expert or your interviewee, if you're the person that's trying to arrange for the interview, just remember that they must be available as well when you push this out. A lot of the times too, what I will do so that I can extend the life of this press release is to post it on your website and also share it on your social media. So you're reaching the public in many different ways or making it available. Now, what to include in the news release, your headline. The first sentence is the most important sentence of your news release. It's your lead. And a lot of the times it's the way that reporters will just kind of take that first couple sentences and put that right in their story. So it should be a concise summary of your announcement, and the the best way to describe what you're trying to say. In the first two paragraphs, you should cover the who, what, when, where, and why, and how. And then the rest of the body can be further information that you want to address. You could even put statistics or background information, and it doesn't even have to be in sentence form. It could be in bullet points. I try at the end of the press release to include about a paragraph that includes information about your entity, just to help people know who you are and what your mission or goals are. And make every attempt to try to keep your news release to one page. At the end of the news release, at the bottom, centered, if you have to continue it on one page, you write more. And if you are done with your news release and that's the end, you put 3 pound signs or hashtags at the bottom middle of the page. I've also included pictures when I send out news releases for media to use, and I have done it using like a shareable file such as Google Drive. You could also just attach it into a press or with the press release as well when you email it out. And again, remember the deadlines. Like currently we have a press release that we've worked on in our office, and we were asked to hold off until the money gets approved from the legislature, and they're meeting in a budget section meeting on Thursday. So the press release is ready to roll. We're waiting for Thursday to hit. And so there's been coordination in our office with, okay, who is our guy here on Thursday to answer any questions? Nope, he's out of the office until Monday. And so we're going to release the news release on Monday when he is in the office. Now, again, this all depends on the urgency of the matter that you are releasing. But in cases where you can coordinate your people, it's really the best, because reporters are going to be frustrated if, 1, they can't get a hold of you when you send a press release, and number 2, your person who is your interviewee isn't available either. So again, just making the life of that journalist easier. Just because you have your press release or news release typed up and ready to hit send doesn't mean that it's the best time to send it. So the timing is something that you need to really take into consideration as well. And also, I will say about deadlines, in order to get the most play on your release, you really have to understand that news cycle. You have to think about if you push out a news release that doesn't need to be, again, urgency and what you're talking about definitely play into the facts. So I guess for ease of what ifs, we'll just say we're talking about something that isn't time sensitive. If you get done typing up your press release and it's 4:45 and you just want it off your desk, it's not the best time to hit send, because most of the news offices, our news departments, are clearing out for the end of the day, or they're over their head in trying to tackle the stories that they've been assigned already for the day. The best time to release something is in the morning, and so that they have time to line up their interviews and get their stories developed, not at the end of the day. Any questions right now that we should tackle before moving on? I don't know where my little comment window went, so I'll just move on.
I think that's fine. I don't see any comments in the chat box yet.
Okay, great, thank you. So the media relations guide for counties, I have downloaded it, and I've also have a physical copy, and I meant to put a link to it on the presentation, and I forgot, but if you Google it, you'll find it, and the source is listed on the bottom here on the next couple screens. But I really find that it's a really easy to use resource, and even though it's driven to counties, it really applies to anyone who deals with media relations. So if you want to check it out, if you're looking for some sort of one place to go as a resource, it's a good one. So 10 do's of speaking with a reporter, I got this from them. I have their 10 do's and 10 don'ts, and then I have a few of my own tips that I got from being a reporter. Know the story and prepare accordingly. Set interview boundaries, such as when, where, and how long. Really, I would say that that's if you have to, if you feel like you really need to do that. Because of your own schedule, or again, the urgency of the matter. Maybe you're in the middle of a crisis, and so you don't have a ton of time to give. Keep the audience in mind at all times. Listen carefully to each question. Answer each question with clarity, authority, and energy. Be informative, thoughtful, and truthful. Speak in complete thoughts. Illustrate your key points with examples. Maintain your composure and stay on message. 10 don'ts of speaking with a reporter. Do not lie, mislead, or distort the truth. Do not lecture or debate a reporter. Do not be argumentative. Do not guess at an answer. Do not question the motive of the question. Do not talk too much. Do not use words you do not want attributed to you. Do not say no comment. We can talk about that more later on. Do not speak off the record, and do not allow the interview to go beyond the agreed parameters. So from my experience, I'm just going to share a little bit more and some explanative. Develop talking points before you go into your interview. And many times when I was a reporter, I'd have people ask me if I could send them a list of questions. And I would say, don't normally write down my questions before the interview. I have an idea of where I'm starting, but I just think of this as something that we're going to go in and visit about. Some people would get nervous about that, but I really didn't have any tricks up my sleeve. I just liked to kind of go in and think of it more of as a visit instead of having a list of questions that I needed to check off my list. While you're thinking about all these things that you should say right and your talking points, don't forget to check your appearance as well. How you look is almost as important or even more important than how you say what you're going to say. So just do a quick check and make sure that that you look good and you're dressed for whatever you're speaking about, that you look professional. This may sound funny, but check for bad breath and dry mouth. I don't know how many interviews that I went into where they would start talking and I almost would get sick to my stomach and think, I got to get out of here, So it was almost immediate, okay, we're almost done, see you later, bye. And so just a couple little personal hygiene checks. And dry mouth too, saliva will build up on people's mouths sometimes, and when you're in TV, it's like, oh, I have to put this guy on TV, or how do I as a reporter tell him to take a drink or wipe his mouth. So just a couple little things there. Also, just even if they don't ask, say and spell your name. So many times names are spelled wrong, they're said wrong on the news. It's just helpful for you to just be upfront and say it and spell it. Use a strong voice. It really depicts someone who is confident. And it's so important when you are a person that's being asked to be talking about this, whether you're the expert on it or just the person in the know. You need to have the confidence on this topic. Avoid fillers like or stand still. If you're standing doing the interview, don't rock back and forth, side to side. Sit up in your chair. Put your hands on the desk so they're visible, not underneath the desk, on your lap. Keep your hands out of your pockets. Don't play with keys in your pockets or change in your pockets. It's just a huge distraction, not only to you, but to the reporter, the photographer, or the videographer, and also an audio distraction as well. It's important to remember to be human. Show empathy if that's a situation that you need to if the situation calls for it, or sympathy. Keep eye contact. A lot of people question, where do I need to look? It's important to look at the reporter, not the camera. It makes you look more human, that you're looking at somebody and you're talking to them. Remember to use short sentences. When a reporter in TV is interviewing you, they come back and their goal is to cut out a soundbite that's 15 seconds long, no more than 20. 20 is the max. So make sure that you can be concise and say what you need to say in a short amount of time. Most times reporters will ask, do you have anything else to add? And many times people will say, nope, I think you got it. I can't say enough. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to either, if something didn't sound right in your head or you didn't answer a question right, to go back and wrap around your message, to say that again. Maybe it's the way that you can make sure that they got your message. You can say, well, I just want to stress, or I can't say it enough that, and then say your message again. It also is a good way for that reporter then, who comes back and said, that was my soundbite, it was right at the end of the interview. So they don't have to go back and look for where, log everything that you said, or go back and try to find that one quote. So it's a good way also to think of anything else that's going on in your organization. Maybe it's something coming up, or maybe you're monitoring some other trends that you can tip them off on a future story, or something else that might generate more questions for them. And I think somebody might have their mic on too. I just hear some background noise. Maybe just check your mics. Another way to get the news out is to have a news conference. And before you have a news conference, it's good to send out a news advisory, which is basically a brief notice to the media of the important announcement or event that's coming up. And you could send this, if it's an urgent matter and there's not a lot of head time, it's sent minutes before the news conference. If it's something that's a planned event, you can send it out 2 to 3 days beforehand. You just want to describe the nature of the event. You don't really want to tell exactly what the news is. You want to tease them to get them there. So at your news conference, when you're planning this, select your date and time. Mid to late morning is best. Again, it gives those reporters time to get to the event and to get what they need and then get the story rolling. Avoid Fridays if possible, and I only say this because Fridays you have a shorter news cycle because the story doesn't live on past Friday more than likely. A lot of people a lot of stations will carry news over into the next day in their morning show or even in their noon show. And at 10 o'clock on Friday, that story's probably had the last coverage that it's going to get. It also, I believe you get more viewers on other days of the week. Friday nights at 10, people usually have other things that they're doing. They've got their weekend plans, they've started their weekend, and so you don't have as many viewers on Fridays as well. I chose this picture because I thought it did a great job of showing how the folks at the North Dakota Department of Transportation did a good job in choosing a venue that would provide photo and video ops. This dealt with a road construction project, our road safety, and as you can see, there's construction behind you. And so not only is it look good during the news conference, but then after the news conference, the reporters have direct access to getting video and photos that they need. Select your speakers that you want at your event and develop talking points in a script, and then also invite other VIPs that you think would want to either speak or be present at the news conference. And then consider any audio or visual needs that you have. again, here you're on a road construction, so they brought in the podium. You're out there, you know, you have other sound that you have to compete with. So I'm sure that they had a microphone and speaker that they had to tap into. You needed the podium to place the mics onto for media that were covering the event. The other visual needs, you have, you see the visual chart by the speaker as well. So they checked their boxes. Just gonna take a drink of water here. At your news conference, remember to stay on message, and as often as you can, go back to your main message. Remember that you're on the record from the time you walk into that room to the time that the media are gone. Anticipate questions, because at the end of your news conference, you should ask, are there any questions, and take them just like you would an interview. Answer the questions asked. Do not stray off topic. Avoid technical terms and acronyms. Admit if you do not know the answer. Again, now you're at a news conference, you're probably not sitting at your desk or in front of your computer where all this information is at. So provide that you will, you know, get the answer to them at a, you know, when you have time to research it, or get the answer for them at their desk, at your desk. And again, avoid no comment. It really, it has a negative connotation, and most oftentimes people say no comment, but it doesn't mean that they have no comment. Or if you can't comment on this for a specific reason, you guys are in health, in the health area, so you might have some to follow HIPAA rules, then cite why that is something that you cannot provide information on. Or if there is something that you can, part of the question that you can answer, say, well, I'm not at liberty to answer this because of this, but I can tell you this. And during news conferences, you know, be mindful of the reporters' times. And that's why you should be very selective too in who you have speaking. I would limit it and limit the number of questions, just to be mindful of everyone's time. Just because you hold a news conference doesn't mean that people will show up. They have really decreased in popularity. I would say that news conferences are a less effective tool in getting your message out. The reason, newsrooms have downsized. There are fewer reporters. Most of the crews are turning into one-man bands, meaning a reporter does the goes out with a camera and takes pictures, videos, goes back, writes the story, edits the story, and most of the time even has to develop their online content as well for that story. In many cases, for a news conference, a station or a media outlet might just send a photographer or a videographer to go, and with the direction of, hey, just go get some video showing this happened and mic the podium, and if we can try to pull out a 15-second soundbite, we will. I would say that most of the content now is being driven on being original and exclusive. And so that's where you go back to your list of different ways to release your story. And that's definitely one of the considerations that you should give in making the consideration to have a news conference and decision. This is an example from the Fargo Police Department. And it was during a case that they had where a woman was abducted and missing. No one knew where she was, and she was pregnant, and it ended up that her neighbors kidnapped her, killed her, and took her unborn baby. There was a huge following from the public, of course, on this. They were seeking the public's help and support in trying to find this missing woman. And I'm sure you all know and have experienced it too, and you probably feel the same way as a person, that we have gotten to a time in our society where people want information now. They expect it. And so it really has put a whole nother level of expectations on, especially law enforcement, or really any entity that has breaking news to release. And so the Fargo Police Department, they had a press conference that they live streamed, which is common. But what I hadn't seen before is the example on the right screenshot was a message that the chief gave from his desk and was posted on Facebook with an update. And so it wasn't part of a press conference, and it wasn't part of a reporter's question and answer time interview. This was just him speaking to the public with an update. And I thought it was, I watched it at the time, and I was like, I got to remember to use this in presentations moving forward, because I thought it was a really good example of how to use your resources best in a timely manner. A couple things I will give about if you do Facebook Lives or you do videos to post on social media is, I mean, they're very easy to produce today with our cell phones, and there's no reason you even need to buy equipment if you don't want to. You can produce a good video to post on social media with your cell phone. However, you will want a tripod, and you will want a microphone for that purpose. And they do have Bluetooth microphones that you can put on a podium. You can hook up to somebody, and just the audio is so important if you're going to go this route. And again, it might be something that you have for when you do need it, not wait until you need it to go buy it. Any questions on how to deliver your news to the media? Again, Colleen, I'm not seeing a pop-up box, so I don't know if I hid that when I
No, you're fine. It doesn't. I just wanted to ask again if anybody has any questions, because people can either speak them or type them in the chat. And I just wanted.
I just found it, and I did see. Thanks, Mandy. She found the guide, media relations guide, and shared it out.
Yeah, I don't have a question. Oh, go ahead.
This is Kate Jankowski in Colorado. I was just curious if you have any suggestions for what to do if the media reaches out to you about a story and they bill it one way, and then in the middle of the interview they take it a different direction. Any suggestions for how to handle that?
Oh, yes, those are very tough. I've been involved in those as well from the PIO standpoint. You know, I think it's important just to, again, not get argumentative, especially during that, in the heat of the moment with the reporter, and just to stick to your message, wrap it around your message. Maybe it's just saying, you know, hey, we have the facts that say this, and this is what we believe, or this is where we stand. You know, wrapping it back to your position, your message. And again, to avoid maybe some of those situations, I don't know if it came from just a mainstream reporter or not, but a lot of those would come from people who aren't working with really accredited media. So to do your homework before agreeing to an interview and making sure that someone is accredited or has credentials, from a media outlet, help in trying to maybe make sure that you know where they're coming from as well.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? And just for a time check, we have about 5 minutes left.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're fine. It's been really informative.
We will cruise. So again, just the future, the current day need is all handheld. People really want to get information instantaneously. This is where they're really going to get their news. And so you really need to think about your communication strategies, how to communicate with your residents, and to use social media if you're not. And I can try to cruise through a lot of these. I just thought this was really interesting. In my research, half the world population is on social media and using social media, and really Facebook and Twitter have revolutionized how we are communicating. Tips for successful posts, breaking news, use pictures, videos, graphics, get information, important information to the public, ask for help, provide behind the scenes look at what's going on in your organization, recognize good work of employees, promote events, and use humor. And using humor, I think, is really the one that's taken off right now as far as popularity. A lot of our law enforcement offices are doing challenges. The screenshot is from the Get Up challenge, and so they had kids and a deputy doing the Get Up. Creating campaigns to do every week, and just touch on these points on emergency and crisis situations. I think it's important not only to get your information out there, but also to express your concern, empathy, and sympathy for and the fear that might be out there because of a current situation. It's important to tell people what you know or don't know. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say something that you don't know the status right now, or you don't know, and that your crews are working on this and you're seeking more information. To stay alert to your Facebook page or your website for more information. So again, I just want to return to this slide to emphasize the importance of integrating social media in your communications plan. I'm sure most of you guys do it by now. Your message can get delivered faster and more accurately using your social media, but it is still so important to have that relationship with your media as well. And then I was asked to touch on government relations and how to connect with legislators. A lot of it is very similar to the relationships and how you deal with media. Number one is really building relationships. And in order for you to best communicate with them, you really need to understand the legislative process in your state. Monitor bills, testify on them that are of interest, that gets you in front of them, that gets your position in front of them. Look for other partner affiliates and stakeholders to work with on issues. Really engaging your citizens is so important as well, because the citizens are who are voting for those legislators. And so if you can engage your citizens to work on your behalf, on your priorities behalf, that's even better, because legislators answer to the citizens. Collect your facts, your data on the issues of legislative interest, and I shared a screenshot here of an advocacy piece that I created this last session. I think that advocacy one-pagers are great to start a discussion with legislators. They're also a good leave behind, so that you can have it for a legislator and say, review this when you have time, and let me know if you have any questions. So I cruised through that. Hopefully I met your deadline. You can email me any other questions that you have, or if we have any time, you can ask them now.
Thanks. That was really informative and helpful. We're just about at time now, but if people want to stay on the line to ask questions, I don't have to run off anywhere. So, Donnell, as long as you are okay staying for a couple minutes.
Yep.
If people need to log off, we totally understand as well. Does anybody have any questions? Well, if not, we can wrap up in the emails. Oh, it looks like there's a chat. Oh, just Mandy saying thank you. Yeah, that was, I want to say thank you as well. That was really helpful. I think it was a good reminder about, using social media as a way to connect with the media. And I know that our department does a lot of that, but it's not something that I'm always proactive with. So thank you for all that information.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah. And we are at time, as I mentioned, and I just wanted to say one reminder that the next learning opportunity is going to be, it will be Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. And if there's anything that, any requests you have around topics, please let me know. I was thinking about maybe doing one around shared risk and protective factors since I came out of our RNCO user survey last year, and maybe reaching out to somebody to help me think through some of that. So with that, we will end the meeting. Thank you so much for participating, and thank you again, Danielle, for your presentation.